I think we can all agree that the Memphis Grizzlies have been the biggest surprise in the NBA this season. From a team battling for a spot in the play-in last year to a team that is potentially a contender in the Western Conference. The rise of the Memphis Grizzlies has been interesting to watch and visualize over the past few years. It almost seems like the front office and coaching staff played their cards right in every move that they've made in rebuilding this team. From taking a chance on hopeful prospects, acquiring assets, to drafting franchise cornerstones, Memphis has created one of the youngest and deadliest teams in the association that has only room to get better. Led by all-star John Morant, every night is a highlight show, capped off with a resilient effort on both ends of the floor. But it wasn't always bright and shining in Memphis. The process of creating this young, exciting team came with bumps along the road, which was expected and anticipated with any rebuild. But within 5 years, the Grizzlies have built something special in Memphis that looks like a potential competitive team for years to come. But how did they do it? How did the Grizzlies become so good so early while being so young? To answer that, we have to travel a few years back. The Grizzlies were established in 1995 as an expansion team that was added into the NBA. They were known as the Vancouver Grizzlies and played 6 seasons in Vancouver, Canada, before relocating to Memphis, Tennessee in 2001. Within the first 8 seasons of joining the NBA, the Grizzlies did not win more than 30 games in either season and missed the playoffs each year. The new boys in town had a long way to go, and the Grizzlies front office also had some things to learn too. In arguably one of the worst trades in NBA history, in 1997, the Grizzlies traded for Otis Thorpe, a 35-year-old vet who only played 47 games for the franchise, and sent a first-round pick to the Detroit Pistons that was protected if it landed at number 1 and could be conveyed between 1998 through 2003. However, the Grizzlies waited till the last year in 2003 and earned the second overall pick in the 2003 draft, but it had to be sent to Detroit, meaning the Grizzlies missed out on selecting second in the 2003 draft. But the 2003 draft class wasn't that crazy, right? I mean, who could possibly...
Denver Nuggets select Carmelo Anthony. The Toronto Raptors select Chris Bosh. The Miami Heat select Dwayne Wade from
Yeah, yikes. At least I didn't draft Darko. In better news, the Grizzlies would follow up the next season making 3 straight playoff appearances, including a 50-win season led by their former Rookie of the Year Pau Gasol, but followed up by 4 years of consecutively missing the playoffs. Through 2011 to 2017, the Memphis Grizzlies undoubtedly had the best stretch of seasons since the franchise joined the NBA. Known as the grit and grind era, they had 7 straight playoff appearances, including a conference finals and 2 second-round appearances during that time. Led by Marc Gasol, a multiple-time All-Star, multiple All-NBA, All-Defensive and Defensive Player of the Year, Zach Randolph, a 2-time All-Star, Mike Conley, All-Defensive Team member, and Tony Allen, who made 6 All-Defensive teams in Memphis. This team was built on its defense, playing a physical brand of basketball and bullying you in the paint, which was the opposite of what many teams stylistically did in the NBA at the time. Memphis would go on to have a top 10 defensive rating in 6 out of the 7 years in the grit and grind era, and they didn't rely on their 3-point shot, ranking bottom 5 in 3-point attempts in 6 out of the 7 years of the grit and grind era as well. Instead, they would kill you inside in the paint, led by Mark and Zebo. But after 7 years and 2 consecutive first-round exits and guys getting older, the writing was on the wall, and it was time for Memphis to rebuild this team. Going into the 2017 offseason, Zach Randolph and Tony Allen both left in free agency, and they were 2 huge pieces of the team and arguably the heart and soul of what made the Memphis Grizzlies culture. On draft night, Memphis would trade a 2018 second-round pick for rookie Dillon Brooks, who was drafted that night by the Houston Rockets. Going into the 2017-2018 NBA season, the Memphis Grizzlies struggled just as many experts thought they would, and this included a 19-game losing streak that tied a franchise record. The team was 25th in defensive rating, 27th in offensive rating, and Mike Conley went down with a season-ending injury. The current head coach at the time, David Fizdale, was fired mid-season and replaced by assistant coach J.B. Bickerstaff as the interim head coach. Dillon Brooks in his rookie season played all 82 games that year and put up 11 points on 44% shooting from the field. Memphis would miss the playoffs for the first time in 8 years, finished with the second worst record, and earned the 4th pick in the 2018 NBA draft. Memphis selected Jaren Jackson Jr. with the 4th pick, a 6'11" highly touted prospect with great defensive ability and good knack of scoring the ball. They also signed free agent Kyle Anderson on a 4-year, $37 million deal, who played his first 4 years with the San Antonio Spurs, learning under Tim Duncan and head coach Greg Popovich, a guy who made the Grizzlies younger and had a great IQ for the game after posting career highs with the Spurs the year before. J.B. Bickerstaff was announced as the head coach entering the 2018-2019 season. The Grizzlies started that season 12-5, and that was the only positive in that year. They would finish the season off with a 21-45 record and had 28 different players suit up that season due to the incredible amount of injuries that occurred. Mike Conley was the only player on the Memphis Grizzlies that played over 70 games and actually had a career year despite the horrible season that the Memphis Grizzlies had. Dillon Brooks, who played all 82 games the season before, only played 18 games in his second season due to a ruptured ligament in his big toe. At the trade deadline, Marc Gasol would be traded to the Toronto Raptors, meaning Mike Conley was the lone remainder of the grit and grind era. Jaren Jackson Jr. would make first-team All-Rookie, playing 56 games and averaging around 14 points per game and 5 rebounds per game on 50% shooting from the field. Finishing the season 33-49, tied for the 7th worst record in the NBA, the Grizzlies had a 26% chance of landing a top 4 pick. But the basketball gods were in their favor, and Memphis was awarded the 2nd pick in the 2019 NBA draft. Luckily, they didn't trade that pick like years before. Before the NBA draft, head coach JB Bickerstaff would be fired, and the Grizzlies would hire Taylor Jenkins as the Grizzlies' new head coach, the second youngest head coach ever and only a few months older than LeBron James. Jenkins had been an intern for the San Antonio Spurs and was an assistant coach for the Atlanta Hawks and Milwaukee Bucks, reaching the conference finals twice. Now, he was the leader of the second youngest team in the NBA. With the 2nd pick in the 2019 NBA draft, Memphis would select Ja Morant, a player who went to a non-Power 5 school in Murray State, wasn't recruited at all in high school, and had only one offer from his alma mater. If that's not the grind, then I'm gonna have to hit up Dan to tell me what it is. Ja had freakish athleticism and upside and was compared to the likes of Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose with his ability to score at will. Memphis had his franchise point guard, which meant it was time to let go of Mike Conley and fully clear house. Memphis would trade Mike Conley to Utah for Grayson Allen, Jay Crowder, Kyle Korver, and rookie Darius Bazley in the 2020 first-round pick. They would then trade Darius Bazley in a second-round pick for big man rookie Brandon Clark, drafted by Oklahoma City during draft night. Memphis would then trade Javon Carter and Kyle Korver to Phoenix for Josh Jackson, DeAnthony Melton, and a 2022 second-round pick. DeAnthony Melton ended up being the second-round pick Memphis used to acquire Dillon Brooks back in 2017, and they brought him back home in full circle. They would then trade Julian Washburn, who played one game for the Grizzlies, for Andre Iguodala in the 2024 Golden State Warriors first-round pick. Memphis would also trade Chandler Parsons to Atlanta, freeing up some cap space. They would sign Tyus Jones in free agency on a 3-year, $26 million deal, who was a solid backup point guard, and also re-sign Jonas Valanciunas, locking him up for the next 3 years worth $45 million. The grit and grind era was officially over, but Memphis believed it had the young core to carry the torch. Before the 2019-2020 season began, Andre Iguodala never participated with the team, and both parties agreed to look for another trade partner to send Iggy to. But even though the veteran Memphis acquired wasn't a part of the team, the Grizzlies still showed immense progress. The young Grizzlies were 6th in pace and were 15th in defensive rating, and for a young team, they put effort on the defensive end of the ball. The baby big three of Dillon Brooks, Ja Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. led the team in scoring, while all 3 of them were shooting over 40% from the field, over 33% from 3, and all averaging over 16 points per game. This led to the team extending Dillon Brooks, linking him in for another 3 years. And in a 3-team trade at the trade deadline, Memphis would trade Jay Crowder, Andre Iguodala, and Solomon Hill to the Miami Heat and receive Justin Winslow and Dion Waiters from the Miami Heat as well, and also receive Gorgie Deng from the T-Wolves. Now in this season, we all know how COVID affected the NBA that year and how it led to the NBA bubble. However, before the NBA restart due to COVID, the Memphis Grizzlies were the 8th seed in the Western Conference and were 3.5 games ahead of the 9th seeded Portland Trail Blazers for the last playoff spot. This team was ahead of schedule, but in the bubble, Memphis struggled on offense and on defense. Jaren Jackson Jr. suffered a torn meniscus, Tyus Jones and Justice Winslow would be sidelined due to injury, and they would fall to the 9th seed and lose in the play-in tournament to the streaking Trail Blazers, ending their season. Ja would go on to win Rookie of the Year, deservedly so, averaging almost 18-7 while leading the Grizzlies to almost making the playoffs. Ja Morant and Brandon Clark, who also had a very good rookie season, would make All-Rookie first team. Memphis clearly had the talented pieces, and it was slowly coming together. In the 2020 NBA draft, Memphis would draft Robert Woodard in the 2nd round and would trade Woodard and a 22 second-round pick for Xavier Tillman, selected by the Kings on draft night. And in a 3-team trade, Memphis would trade 2 future second-round picks for Desmond Bane, who was just drafted by the Boston Celtics on draft night as well. Memphis would also re-sign DeAnthony Melton on a 4-year, $35 million deal, locking in another important role player for the team. At the beginning of the 2020-2021 NBA season, Jaren Jackson Jr. would miss most of that season due to his meniscus tear, but would return at the end of the season, playing 11 regular season games in that year. Ja Morant and Dillon Brooks made small leaps in their game, but the big improvement was Jonas Valanciunas stepping up and filling in a hole that Jaren Jackson Jr. left, putting up career highs in points, rebounds, and efficiency. Rookie Desmond Bane was shooting 43% from 3 in his first season, and the Grizzlies had 6 guys averaging over double digits that year. 8th in pace and the 6th best defense led to the Grizzlies finishing 38-34, posting their first winning season since the last year of the grit and grind era in 2017. Memphis would be the 9th seed that year, and in the play-in tournament, beat the San Antonio Spurs at home, and would beat the Golden State Warriors on the road in an overtime thriller, sending them home and sending the young Grizz to the playoffs since 2017. Facing the number 1 seeded Utah Jazz that year, the expectations were low, but Memphis, on the biggest stage the young players had ever played on, beat the Jazz in Game 1 on the road. Though they would lose that series in 5 games, Ja Morant would average 30 in that series, including a 40-point masterclass in Game 2, and Dillon Brooks would put up 25 points per game in that series as well. And even though the season was over, the new era of Grizzlies basketball had arrived. Now, after the playoffs and last offseason, Memphis would trade Jonas Valanciunas to the New Orleans Pelicans for Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, who would later be traded, Zaire Williams, a rookie, Jared Butler, a rookie who would later be traded, and a 2022 first-round pick. And in this season, you guys know exactly what's been going on. Memphis this season is 54-23, second in the West, and have the second best record in the league. They're first in points per game, first in rebounds per game, first in steals per game, first in blocks per game, first in fast break points, first in second chance points, third in pace, fifth in offensive rating, and fourth in defensive rating. They have been elite. Ja Morant, in only his 3rd season, has had an MVP type season, putting up 27 points per game, nearly 6 rebounds, and nearly 7 assists on 49% shooting from the field, while being the first guard to lead the league in points in the paint. But don't get it twisted, the Grizzlies don't rely on Ja to get the job done.
Where is Ja?
They're currently 19-2 without Ja Morant this year. What team can go 19-2 without their best player who's having an MVP season? Jaren Jackson Jr., who should make an all-defensive team this year, is averaging 16 points per game and giving you 2.3 blocks per game. Desmond Bane in year 2 is giving you 18 points per game on 43% shooting from the field. And Dillon Brooks, who missed the first half of the season, is still putting up 18 points per game. And again, 6 guys averaging double digits for the Memphis Grizzlies right now as we're heading into the playoffs. What Memphis has been able to do within 5 years cannot be ignored. They've made excellent moves to build a roster that caters to the young talent that they have, and have done an exceptional job trusting the coaching staff to make the right decision in utilizing these players. Memphis has 2 first-round picks in 2022, and depending on where the Lakers fall in the standings, they might have 3, including 2 first-round picks in 2024. Not to mention, their young core is locked up for at least next season and have cap space to make more moves. Who knows? They have the tools and assets to maybe make a big trade in the near future. The future is very bright in Memphis, and if they continue with making the right moves, I can see them being a lasting contender in the Western Conference for years to come. Success doesn't grow on trees. You have to go through your bumps and bruises before you reach the end goal. And the Memphis Grizzlies definitely have gone through that. But what we've seen so far, they've been the blueprint that many new rebuilding teams in the league need to acknowledge and maybe mimic. Who knows what the Memphis Grizzlies will accomplish in the near future, or even this season? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. How far do you think the Memphis Grizzlies are going this season? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. If you're new, be sure to turn that post notification bell on so you never miss a video. I'm pretty sure you'll find something that you'll enjoy. Until next time, stay on beat.